to section B, exercise 18. And in this one, we're looking at a landscape referring to purpose, elements and place. This one, what we're trying to do is we're trying to choose a landscape that's going to fit our purpose. So it might be a good idea to have something you want to communicate before you start looking for a landscape to go and paint in. The choice is yours over whether you want to choose your landscape first and then think how it would link to a purpose, or you can think of a purpose and then think, what kind of a landscape do I need for this? Both things are equally relevant. What I wanted to do in this one was move slightly away from painting something directly that's in front of me, which is what I've been doing up to now, painting a landscape from life. I want to do something a bit more imaginary in this exercise. So what I want to do is use an experience that I had last week, sailing, and actually try and encompass what it feels like, the escapism of sailing. And so I'm concentrating on a concept more than materials or fundamentals. The concept is the freedom of sailing, what it gets you away from. I am going to have to do some sketching for this, because I've obviously got reference photographs and videos from the week's sailing, but it's all going to be quite imaginative. It's a constructive painting, almost illustrative, and it's going to have a boat on waves, but the waves are going to encompass tooth-like monsters that I have used in paintings before. It will make sense more when you see it, but I am going to have to do some sketching on this one. So I've got a purpose, trying to convey the feeling of freedom with sailing and escapism. Elements, a boat on waves, and the place, it's a fictional place. It's an imaginary place, but in thinking about the place, I can imagine the light coming from behind the boat at you, so the tops of the waves are actually backlit with the light behind. So I'm starting to think about how light is coming through, so it's not really flat. So there's my PEP. I'm going to now put that onto a planning sheet just to confirm it in my head. Section B, exercise 18 planning sheet. The purpose of this one is the exploration of an idea, a concept. And that the communication with that is the freedom of sailing, freedom and escapism of sailing, and how that actually makes you feel. Ism of sailing. Elements, there's going to be a sailboat, waves, monsters under the waves. And of course, at this point, you can do a sailboat, do some adjectives and verbs, waves, you can do adjectives and verbs, monsters under the waves, adjectives and verbs, going back to section A. If you feel that that bit isn't going to enhance anything that you're doing and it's all in here anyway, just leave that bit out. I don't put the adjectives and verbs anymore, but I still think about them. I still think about what kind of sailboat is it? What is it doing? What kind of waves are they? What are they doing? What do the monsters look like? It's a constant thinking process. And the place, it's an imaginary place. Backlit so that the light comes through the wave, and that will give me a little bit of something to play with shadows and stuff on the sea. So there we have Purpose, exploration of an idea or a concept. What am I communicating? The freedom and escapism of sailing. Elements, a sailboat, waves, monsters under the waves, place, imaginary place, backlit, light through the waves. Right, what I need to do now is actually sort out the composition and get some sort of feel for how I'm going to do this without actually starting the painting from scratch. I need to be sure of what I'm doing, and I'm not wasting paint and I'm not wasting canvas. That's what I'm going to do on the next page. I do like splitting these pages into 4. I think if I had a smaller sketchbook, I'd probably do more than 1 page, but I quite like them all being on 1 page. Right, so what I'm thinking is quite a high horizon. That's for certain. I'm just drawing in biro, by the way. And then what I've noticed about the sea is as it comes further down, the waves get bigger and further apart. So I'm definitely going to include that. Sailboat. And I think I want it coming into the painting at the top here rather than in the middle, because it's what's under the waves that's going to be important. Now, if I just have them flat like this, it's just going to be a bit flat. So what I'm going to try and do is actually, might put another one in there, is actually give these a bit more form. I'm going to try that again, and this time I'm going to instead of having it more rounded, I'm going to have them a bit more shallow. That's not working. That's not. I'm trying to simplify the wave movements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to a reference rather than just out of my head. I'm going to use reference from the sea state just to see how I can make this work. Got an idea, but I want to make it work in this one. I can still use these as colour practice, but I want to get the actual waveform right first. Right. I've had a look at some images and it's nearly there, but not quite. And I think what it was is I'm doing the first line horizontally. If I start with the horizon, obviously, and then take these and carry on with them that way and add others in, all of a sudden that's making more sense. If I then add those little pocket things that I wanted to put in, that's a bit better. That's better. And what it gives me is little peaks in the water where I'm going to be able to put my little monsters. That's what I was after more than anything, is to make these little peaks to put my little monsters in. And of course up here you've got your sailboat, which instead of having it flat, I'll probably have it at a bit more of an angle to make it more dynamic. And these monsters can get bigger as they come closer in. So I'm getting more of an idea now. And each time I'm just trying something a little bit different. Because the more times I try this, the more comfortable I'm going to feel when it actually comes time to paint it. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to have a look at some colour schemes. So I've got cadmium yellow, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, crimson red and magenta. I'm just going to play around with those colours at the moment. Blue's going to be a really obvious one to go with, but I want to try and throw in some greens and maybe some oranges in there as well, with the light coming from behind. We'll see what happens. I'll do different grades of it. Right, off we go. So I do want to get quite a magical feel. We are in escapism after all. So first thing I'm going to do is just start. This isn't gessoed, by the way. I'm not gessoing it because I'm not doing a materials experiment. All I'm doing is just throwing colour on to see what colour scheme I want to use. So I'm not worried about quality of painting, just seeing what colour scheme works. And I'm starting off on the red side of the scale, and I'll work through all four of them onto the blue side of the scale and see where I can do it in between. So basically the tops of the waves are going to be yellow. See, I'm showing you all the mistakes I'm making as well as the finished product in this. I'm showing you my planning. This is what I use my sketchbooks for, is that whole... It's not to get it exact, it's to make mistakes. Making the mistakes in this is the important bit. Right, you get the idea. So I've never done this before. This isn't like me showing you something that I know how to do. I don't know how to do this. That's the whole point of this bit. So if anyone says, oh, you don't do it like that, it's like, I didn't know how to do it in the first place. So I'm just playing with it. And isn't that what it's about sometimes? And obviously this would be all smooth and well painted. Too much green, I think. I like a little bit of green, but that might be a little bit too much. So next one. Yeah, when I looked at the reference, what I noticed was that they actually zigzagged across. It goes more yellow on the top bits as it gets more of a reflection up there. Then I'm going to mix a tiny bit of orange and just where the wave yeah. So as I'm doing this, more and more ideas on how I can improve this are popping into my head. And that's much better at happening here than doing that in the middle of your painting. You're finished painting and going, oh, I should have done that, should have done that. So I'll be approaching my final painting with as much information about how I'm going to do it as possible. Right. So final one, I'm going to start introducing a bit of the red as well. And I might even add a bit of purple into it because it's an orangey sky. It's not a blue sky. Yeah, when the sun comes through the tops of waves when it's really low and the waves are quite high, that for me is absolutely magical. I love that. I could even do like wavy, like patterns of changes of colour. Right, so that's pretty much, I'm happy with how that's working. So if I get a little bit of white paint now, and then these, I might do like a sea foam pattern. I have painted sea foam before, so this is sort of like old practices popping back into my head. And then underneath the sea will be where you can see, that's where the monsters will be. Right, so I've got a colour scheme, a composition, a way I'm going to attack this. It's all good. So as you can see here, I've done different colour schemes to really cement in my head where I want to go with this. And this final one was, it grew from all of them. I know where I'm going with my colour scheme. It also helped me put my composition together in my head and also the direction I want to go in the painting. So I'll carry on with the painting now and I'll see you in a bit. And here we have the exercise 18 painting. Purpose, elements and place. The purpose was to show the escapism of sailing away from the daily monsters. Elements, we've got the boat on the waves with the monsters in the sea, and the place, it was an imaginary place, an imaginary seascape that I just came up with myself. And it was based on the day sailing trips around North Wales that we did last week. That's the end of the PEP, that's the end of PEP. We've done one in life drawing, one in still life and objects, and one in landscape. The next thing we're going to look at is another acronym, SHIS, S-H-I-S. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.